Well, it is actually a day off, Buzz, but you're still breaking yarns, and that's where we're going to get started. Off-contract Rabbitohs captain Adam Reynolds, looking increasingly unlikely to stay at the Rabbitohs, maybe looking for a longer-term deal to leave his beloved junior club. Today there have been some big developments, Buzz. Will Adam Reynolds beat the Rabbitohs next year?
Oh, look, I can't answer that definitely, guys. What I do know is that they didn't have a face-to-face meeting today, Steve Gillis and the Cowboys, but they spoke on the telephone. And the Cowboys registered their interest officially, expression of interest. So after that phone call, Steve Gillis has gone back to the Rabbitohs and said he wants final clarification on their position with Reynolds. Will you move off 1 year? Will you go to 2 years? And he wants an answer on that by Monday. If they don't get that answer, he will then go back to the Cowboys and they can start talking length of contracts, money. And I don't think they're the only club. There's a little bit, I don't want to name the club now because I'm not 100% sure. I think there's interest elsewhere. Now, Reynolds is going to be left with this choice. $700K 1 year at South or $3 million 3 years somewhere like the Cowboys.
Wow.
Sadly, I think he's going to be forced to go.
That's a lot of money. $3 million for 3 years is a lot of money. I think that's the issue, isn't it, Buzz? That's a lot of money for 3 years.
For the last contract of his career.
I get that.
You know, he's got a limited earning capacity like all football players. You get 10, 12 years if you're really good.
Yeah.
And he cannot afford, with a young family, still got a mortgage, to reject that sort of cash.
You can understand what the hesitation is there.
Well, that's why they've gone back to South.
It's rolling the dice a little bit.
They don't even want to talk money with the Cowboys at the moment.
It's madness from South Sydney. Like, this player is the captain of the club, is a local junior, grew up in Redfern in the Housing Commission right next door to this vision where we're watching Souths train at the moment. No player epitomises what being red and green means more than Adam Reynolds. He's been involved with the organisation for 15 years. You hear clubs talk about words like culture all the time. I can't understand how, if you want to use that word, given everything that he has given to this club, and he is the captain of the club, that they don't get a deal done. It would be simple to solve the stalemate. You've just got to offer him an additional year, make it a 2 year contract. Similar to yourself, Phil, I was in communication with Blake Solly, the boss of Souths, earlier today. He's adamant we're not budging, we're not moving from the 1 year deal. So at the moment, it's a Mexican standoff. I think it'll get solved.
Yeah. But the other thing is, where's he rank in the NRL in the top 16 halfbacks? I think there's one better halfback, Cleary. Who else? He's playing better than Cherry Evans.
He's playing
better than Jerome Hughes. He's playing better than Mitchell Moses.
Yeah,
I think he's the number two.
He's a different style of player.
Yeah,
Luke Keary's a pretty hot player.
I've got Keary in front of him. I've got Keary in front of him.
Yeah, but he's not there this year, mate.
Yeah, I know he's injured, but I've got Keary in front of him.
But Hoops, there'll be a riot from South fans if they don't budge on this. And obviously, they'd want to know who the club is looking at going forward. And clearly they must feel confident that they've got cover there.
Yeah, look, the Bunnies are in a fortuitous position that they have got a couple of young gun playmakers coming through. So there's Blake Taff and there's also a young kid called Lachlan Ilias. I know that the club holds high hopes for both of these players, but they didn't get to play a lot of football last year. So
we said the other night,
is the cap an issue? You've got Cook, who's signed till 2023. Latrell 2023. You got Cody off next year, and Cody's going to demand big dollars. Yeah. Maybe they've put their emphasis on re-signing him, and they can't sign
Latrell
both
too, didn't you?
Latrell as well.
The other problem they've got, guys, and this is going to be a big story as soon as Reynolds is sorted out. I don't think they've got the money to keep Dane Gagai. And Gagai's just sitting back now waiting to see what Katoni Staggs does in Brisbane. And once Staggs is finalised, Gagai then becomes the hottest centre on the market. I don't think South can afford to keep him because they've upgraded Campbell Graham, understandably, and you know they've got a flashy football side.
I don't think they can afford it. I think he's already been told that he is free to look elsewhere, because they can't keep them all. Yeah,
you make a fair point, Braith, in relation to the salary cap, but we see clubs in these positions all the time. Like, there's more than one way to skin a cat. If you want to sign a player, you just go out and sign them. We've seen the Melbourne Storm and the Sydney Roosters do it numerous times over the years. You go and sign who you want, and then you figure out the jigsaw puzzle around it, and somebody else has to make way.
Well, there's obviously a question mark there within the club. I mean, if you look at it, there's obviously...
What is it?
I don't know. They obviously think that it's a bit of a risk or gamble to have a player who's 31 years of age, sign a 3-year deal at $1 million a year. You are rolling the dice these days. We see it. You know, how many clubs pay overs for players at the moment and leave themselves just hammered with the salary cap, and it takes them 2 or 3 years to recover? The South obviously think that it's a risk, and they're not making the call. Yeah. That's as simple as that.
I think it's a massive risk, because we were talking about Sam Walker, and you do not win premierships with 18-year-old halfbacks. These kids you were talking about have had no first-grade experience apart from the Charity Shield. If they want to win a comp this year or next year, they're not going to do it without Reynolds.
And you make a good point there, Phil, in that they're a damn good chance of winning the competition this season. Wayne Bennett's still the coach. The roster's red hot. You look at the form that they were in last week when they knocked off the Roosters. Like, they're a huge crack. Yet this PR disaster is just an unwanted distraction. Yeah. We're going to talk about it every night. It's going to be headlines every day. It just creates outside noise that they don't need.
They are too, but it shows how stoic they are with the decision. Because you would think that the outside noise and the pressure and putting off their key playmaker would impact their premiership credentials. Why would they want to go through that this year? So it even enhances how strong they are on this.
I'd like to know who's making this call, Braith. Is it Russell Crowe? Is it Jason Demetrio? It's not Wayne Bennett, because he's already come out and said that if he was in charge, he'd be giving...
I reckon it's Mark Ellison, who's the head of the recruitment and general manager of football.
Why would it be LA for?
Because he's got control there now that he's doing Shane Richardson's old job. And I presume he's in conversations with Demetrio.
Yeah, for sure.
He handles the cap. Blake Solly would be involved, but he's more in a managerial position. He's not involved in the actual football network and with the coaching and the managing of the cap. And yeah, I would say it's Mark Ellison and Jason Demetrio. They're responsible for putting a roster together for future years.
Yeah, I know they've got a big rap on Blake Taff and Lachlan Ilias and Peter Membazola's coming through, and those guys are best mates and they're playing pretty good in the lower grades. I know they've got a big rap on them, and they're pretty confident they'll come through over the next couple of years.
But spitball it for us, Braith. If next week, next fortnight, you hear Adam Reynolds is going to move to the Cowboys next season, and you mentioned the distraction.
It would be huge, and the question mark would be over how Adam takes that too, and how he performs for the rest of the year. You don't want that at any club. You don't want that disruption moving forward, and we've seen over the years it possibly could have an impact, but they've got so much depth there.
He's an old pro. He's an old pro.
They've got so much
didn't Cooper Cronk announce early he was going to the Roosters?
Yeah.
Didn't hurt him at Storm. You know, when you're as experienced as those
guys... Did he announce it early? No, didn't he wait till the kangaroo?
But what I'm saying is Reynolds has already shown us that he can block out this outside noise, and it's a serious outside noise. And look, I think he'll just motor along, and he wants to win a comp. You don't win many comps in your career.
Got a good chance this year, really good chance.
Well, all signs from the Cowboys' point of view then point that Michael Morgan may not be continuing to play NRL. So would a signature like Adam Reynolds spark the beginning of a roster overhaul for Todd Payten?
Well, there's no question that the Cowboys intend to make some big plays in the open market, essentially take an axe to their roster over the course of the next 12 months anyway, Lara. I think they'll have about $2.5 million to spend for next year. When you look at the list of players that are already off contract, so Josh Drinkwater is still off contract, so too Jake Granville. Michael Morgan will be retired. I think the screw in his shoulder has broken and it's become infected, and I don't think he'll be able to recover from that. So they're going to be cashed up.
He'd be a great buy for them. Reynolds would be a great buy. He'd be a great buy for a lot of teams at the moment.
Any of the clubs outside the 8 that are looking to take themselves into the finals. Adam Reynolds is your first signing.
Another little bit of mail I got today from the Cowboys, Josh Maguire, under contract until the end of next year. I'm told he's welcome to go.
Okay.
Whenever he wants to.
He's the only one that's been making the right noises out of the joint, saying how soft they are.
But you see what jersey he's in. He's wearing jersey 15. He can't get to the starting lineup, even with Tamalolo not there.
They're in a lot of trouble.
You know?
They're in a lot of trouble, the Cows. If you talk about a rebuild, they've got a huge mountain to climb. They've got some big decisions to make in key positions, but one thing I know is I'd be getting Tamalolo on side, because he's the only player I'd be definitely keeping at the moment and building a side around. I'm a fan of Robson, the 9, but they've got some work to do.
Yeah, he's got decisions to make. Scott Drinkwater off contract, got to decide now if he's a fullback or a 5'8". He's got to decide whether Valentine Holmes is a fullback or a winger. And
he's got his biggest name player offside with his first press conference after a game to begin the season. So, they've got some work ahead of them, the Cowboys.